My name is Stephen Downey, and you are very welcome to episode 49 of the Mindful Living Guide. We are so close to our 50th episode, and this week is it's brilliant. It really is nice. And it's actually funny. I was saying thank you to the guest a few minutes ago. I really enjoyed talking to you, and she said to me, "You say that to all the guests, but I know I do, but I really mean it. I really enjoy this." So this week I'm chatting away to a beautiful lady called Dee Reilly of Whole Body Wellness. She is just lovely to chat to, and there were so many crossovers between kind of thinking that I would have, like we're talking about this idea of mindfulness and meditation just being an external tool, and that how to integrate it into our lives. Dee is a psychotherapist, and she also works in Reiki and in cranio sacral, which I'm fascinated about now. I only found out about on this show. So if you want to hear about all those type of things, sit back and listen to this week's episode of the Mindful Living Guide. Oh, you're so welcome to this episode of the Mindful Living Guide. This week I have Dee Reilly of Whole Body Wellness. And Dee's a psychotherapist, and she specializes in providing a space to feel held, seen, supported, guiding you back to yourself, to come home to you. Dee, you are so welcome to the Mindful Living Guide.
Thanks very much, Stephen. It's great to be here.
It's I love, like we were just saying just before we came on. It's just great to just have open conversations, just about the whole holistic side of life that
Mm.
many people they don't get into, and it's just great to open those conversations up to people. So, can you take me back? Like, where did it all start for you? How did you get into this?
Whole body wellness has been in the background for a very, very, very long time. I suppose I'm many things. The first thing, well, one of the things that I am is a mum. I have four kids, and they're wonderful and amazing. And I've learned an awful lot through them. So through them, watching them grow and develop, and watching myself grow and develop as a parent, and in my mothering, and what way I wanted that to be, rather than just repeating the cycle that came before me, is kind of where whole body wellness came from. Because I was looking at, okay, this is, we don't really think about parenting that much. We just do it sometimes. Sometimes you just do it and you think, oh, sure, anybody can be a parent. And that's true, anybody can. But there's so many different ways to come at it, and so many different ways to do it. And I suppose for me, that's where this journey began. I was looking at how I parent, the things in that I wanted to change for me and for my kids. And through that, that led me to, I suppose, my own healing journey, and starting into that and looking at, I've always been interested in healing, Reiki, full moons, all of that kind of thing. It's always been my jam, as they say.
Yeah,
And that's what brought me into, then I was like, okay, I want to change my parenting. So if I want to change my parenting, I have to change the way that I look at it and the way that I am.
yeah.
And that slowly led me into looking at myself and doing my own piece of healing. And then many years ago, I got a retreat for Christmas. That was my gift. Like, what do you want? I want to go away on a treat for a weekend.
Lovely.
And I went on a retreat, and it turned out that it was a silent retreat, which I didn't know till I got
Okay.
there. And it changed my world. I can say, like, it was one of the best things and the hardest things that I've ever done.
What do you
To
think you
speak.
found the most difficult actually about silence? Because a lot of people mightn't heard of silent retreats before,
Mm.
and the obvious, you're not going to be talking over it. But what is the challenge that you faced then over that weekend by not being able to verbalize and talk?
When you're not verbalizing and you're not talking to the people around you, those pieces inside yourself, they've nowhere to go. And you have to sit with them a little bit longer than you normally would, because maybe normally you'd talk to someone, you'd distract yourself with chatting or with this or whatever. Whereas when you're in the silence, you're in that kind of internal space. And that can be like, we all know that can be all kinds of different things in there. But yet I found for me, the piece in it was that I had been so busy doing and living that I forgot to be.
Wow. So I'm just pausing here because that is powerful. That is a powerful
Mm,
line. And so many people are like that, that we're going on autopilot every single day, that we're forgetting just
mm.
to live.
Yeah, just to actually live and to be present in your life, in the moment, in the world, whatever it is. And that was my takeaway piece from that weekend. It was, in a way, it was like just mind blowing. It just opened up so much for me.
It's
And
and it's not until we take moments like that just to pause that we realize that there's a lot of stuff that needs to settle.
mhm,
That there's been stuff going on. So that journey obviously it brought you into your own healing journey, but also
mhm,
you wanted to heal others. And
mm,
like you mentioned Reiki earlier on, you're obviously a
mm.
psychotherapist. Now I have to ask you how to pronounce this word because I'm not. It's crani. You know what I'm about to say. So can you
I
can you
do.
take me out of the firing pan here? What's
Okay, so it's craniosacral therapy.
okay? Can you tell me more
Yeah.
about that?
So your cranium, to be technical about it,
Yep.
your cranium is your head,
Yeah.
and then your sacral is the bottom of your spine,
Okay.
at the very, very bottom of your spine. So craniosacral therapy is a hands-on healing. It's really, really gentle and yet can be really, really powerful. Sometimes I think so I started in Reiki, then I went to cranio, and then I went to psychotherapy. And cranio, I think sometimes is very much like psychotherapy for the body. So it's that healing space. If you can't, you just have that feeling inside that something's not right, something's not sitting. I'm not sure what it is. Can't name it. And some people aren't ready for talk therapy and talking about what's going on, and they might come into it through healing modalities. And for me, that was the piece with the cranio that it gave me, when I first started doing it, it gave me the space to just be and to heal and to be held in that very safe container that I didn't know what was going on inside me. Yeah, I knew I wanted to change it. It was like this fizziness, that was constantly bubbling up and then going away again and then coming up. And you're like, what's going on with
There's
this? I
there's
can't get
something just
rid of
not
it.
aligned in the right way. Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. And all the stress cycles that we go through in our life, and yet we forget to complete them.
Hmm.
I read a really, really good book about this recently around completing your stress cycle.
Yeah.
And you'll see it like like if an animal gets a fright or
Yeah.
gets, the animal may lie down, play dead, and then they'll get up and they'll shake it off and they'll move off into whatever it is they're doing. They give a really good shake and then they move back into whatever it was they were doing or where they need to go to get to safety, whatever. So it's that shaking that clears the nervous system of the stress that just happened.
A physical response to kind of
Mm,
just literally shake it out of you. Yeah.
yeah. And as people and being, and people who are dizzy. Oh, there you go now. Just people who are busy and
Hmm.
doing stuff, we forget to complete the stress cycle.
Okay.
There's something happens in your day and it's like, oh my God, okay, right, I have to go on to whatever it is. I have to get to the next thing, get to the next thing. And you never get to complete these little cycles. And the body stores them and holds them. So coming in, cranio helps release these cycles that are held up in the body. Very gentle, like I said, and sometimes it comes up like a very gentle shaking. It can be a big shake, and it can be laughing, it can be crying, it can be just that sensation in the body of pins and needles or that fizzing, and you feel different things going on, and you might not be able to identify them. They might feel a little bit weird or a little bit
Yeah.
funny, but that's the body releasing the
Hmm.
stress that's held in it.
It's amazing. I did so look at the anniversary. I think it was 3 years ago. I did a thing called the Carrot Camino, and it was walk
Mm-hmm,
all the way through Leitrim, and it's about 20-mile walk. So it was a beautiful, beautiful thing that I knew through a group of coaches. And as I was walking, just chatting away to different people, and I was invited to come to a breathwork. Uh,
Mm,
it was a session that was actually being held in someone's back garden the following day, and I was on my
mm,
way home. I said, "Right, sure, listen, what's the worst can happen to me?" And it was my first experience of a really deep, proper breathwork. But as I was lying there, and it was a beautiful day, something similar to this, and I actually experienced a really violent shaking in
mm,
my own body. And it's funny you're bringing this up now, and that the release that I got afterwards, just an emotional release from it, like and like that, many of these things we don't understand, and I definitely did not understand what was going on at the time.
yeah.
But listen to you now, like it's obviously it's like you're saying that it's an end to that stress pattern, just
Mm,
releasing that stored up stress.
mm, yeah. Yeah, it can be very powerful. And it can be absolutely sometimes you can be like, what the hell is going on? I haven't got a clue
Mhm.
what's going on here. And that's, I suppose, where I come in as well, holding that space and holding a very safe container for people and trying to, maybe help them make sense of what's going on for them. Not really what I think is happening. It's more like helping them to see what's going on and how it's impacting themselves and their body in a way so that they can integrate it.
And I think it's amazing though that a lot of people don't realize that there is this stress inside them,
Mm,
that it can be very subconscious. So that it's these type of treatments are so good and so positive.
mm,
Um, so you like I was saying, like you've been on a journey. You started with Reiki, and I spoke about Reiki many times on the podcast
mm,
and how beneficial it is. And so then you moved on to cranial.
mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I don't have to say the whole word because I'm tongue tied when I try to say it. But you explained it so well though that it's like and actually if I turn this way you can kind of see the chakras over my shoulder that it seems like
Mm,
it's from the top chakra to the bottom chakra then it's from the cranial to the sacral well actually no
yes,
roof below that but it's like it's like a whole body readjustment then.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it can be very much like everybody's very different. So some people it will be very much on a physical level,
Yeah.
that like it might be on the physical chakras in the body and the energy centers and where they are. For some people, it will be more of a mental thing. And for some people, it's very much a spiritual and a soul piece. And again, then for some, it's all of those things combined into one amazing thing. So you very much meet the person, whoever it is that's coming, where they are.
Mhm.
And I would use in Cranio, I'll use my hands to listen to their body. So I'll use my ears, absolutely, and my eyes to
Yeah.
see and to listen and to watch what's going on. And then my hands to listen to their body and to tune into what it needs on the day
Mhm.
and to work around that. And to sometimes there's a lot of talk in that, and then sometimes there isn't. It's really dependent on what's needed at the time.
The it's such a like it's I love just chatting about these modalities and that the fact that just the energy release that and it just seems like we mentioned earlier on that you're based not too far from me and
Mm.
I'm just on the kind of Dublin Mead border as well and it seems like there's an epicenter around the Hill of
Absolutely.
Tara for I often go to there's a beautiful meditation teacher called Debbie Boyle and I often go to her
I've
practices. You know Debbie as
been
well, do you?
many times.
Ah,
Yes, I've
but
been many times.
I love the energy up at Tara, especially in her sessions because there's a lot of healers that come to it,
Mm,
and I don't know what it is. Well, maybe we do know what it is about
mm,
the energy around Tara that brings these type of people together. Um,
mm.
and can you tell me more of your experience then in Tara? Because I've seen you've gone there a few times as well.
I live quite close to there, so yeah, I would go up there myself very regularly for my own space and for
Mhm.
my own healing and for my own grounding and to just be there.
Yeah.
And I love it. And the energy there is so special. It's like it's really hard to explain. It's one of those things that you're like, it's similar, in a way to cranial. Like, what is it? Well, the only way to really kind of get a grip of it is to be there or to experience it. And actually, now I do an awful lot of my psychotherapy up walking on the Hill of Tara.
Wow.
which is amazing. So yes, it's great.
I love
It's
it.
yeah. No,
Uh,
so do I. Like it's on
it's
so many different levels.
yeah, it's like it's just the thoughts of sitting in a stuffy room trying to pour out all everything that's going on with you can be so difficult. Sorry, and I've described that in a horrible way of because therapy
Yeah,
is
it's not
different for
always
every
like
other
that.
people. It's not it's, no, it's not always like that. I shouldn't say that. But the contrast of actually being in the vast, and one thing I love about the Hill of Tara is the vastness that you stand up and you literally feel like you are looking out over the whole of Ireland. You can see so far on a beautiful day, and
Mm.
to be able to chat to someone in that type of scenario, it's fantastic. Oh, I love it.
Mm.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it is great. And like I said, like you've got so many different elements coming in to that. You've got the energy of Tara itself, whether you believe it or not, and
Yeah,
it's okay. It still was its thing.
yeah,
You're actually out in the fresh air and you're moving around. And even that process and watching how people move through their process as they moved through and around Tara, it's well, I think it's amazing. I think it's great. So you've got like your endorphins are kicking in because you're out and you're getting fresh air, and sometimes you're out there in the lashing rain.
yeah,
And that is really interesting what that brings up then. So you can really
yeah.
integrate the elements and the weather and what's going on, the land that you're walking on and what's going on and how that does or doesn't reflect what's going on in the person's life at the time. It's very special. I'm very lucky to be able to do that and to offer that to my clients.
And you've gone on to so many things like I want to talk to you about as well because you've gone on to you've studied psychotherapy and you obviously you bring that into it, but I think it's one of your latest things that you're studying yoga and
Yeah,
specifically is it yin yoga?
yeah,
Could
yeah.
you tell us the
Specific.
differences? Because there's lots of people will be familiar with, say, Ashtanga, Vinyasa, and I'm pronouncing all them wrong because I'm not a yoga teacher. But what is what's the main difference with Yin yoga?
So just to let you know, like I still pronounce it all wrong as well. Like you know, I've anyway, that's another thing. So I've been asked this quite a few times recently, and it's a process I suppose I'm working through to get to explain it to people
Yeah,
and figure that piece out because I know what it means for me and bringing that to other people. So yin yoga, it's a really for me, I love it because it brings in that mindfulness piece in a different way to Ashtanga, Hatha, flow yoga, all the other types, because it's very slow. So you're on the floor most of the time. Most of the holds are done on the floor and you guide people into them and then they stay there. So yin yoga really works on the connective tissue of the body. So like the ligaments, like the fascia and the joints. And the facial stocking goes from the very tip of your toes to the top of your head and it covers everything in between. It's all over the joints, the organs, the bones, the blood vessels, the ligaments, tendons, everything is wrapped in fascia. Everything. So when you're in yin and you're holding the tension on a certain place in your body, you're holding the tension in the ligaments in there, in the fascia. By doing that, you're hydrating them. You're impacting on the autoimmune system as well. It's really good for like calming that down a bit. And it's really good for the nervous system, getting back into regulation, coming back into yourself. So you'll hold a pose for anything from 3 to 5 to 7 to 20 minutes. And that tension that you're held then, say if you're working on one place, you'll have tension on one side and you'll have compression on the other. And then when you release that and you go into rebound, and a rebound is a state, this place where you integrate this hold, you'll actually feel sometimes you will feel the flow of your life force energy, your chi flowing through these areas. So you're working on your meridians as well as your fascia and everything. And I just love it. I think it's fantastic. I hope I'm explaining it properly.
yeah. I did one session a long time ago.
Mm,
I think it was part of there was a retreat in it was Yoga Hub I was going to at the time,
mm,
not far from me. And what I found about it, which was fascinating, is that it's not just the physical pose either. That because you're saying you're in these poses for a long time now. Ours, I'd say, it was 3 to 4 minutes and max. We were in each one, but after 30 seconds to a minute, you kind of feel that, like you're saying, the tension. But there's also the mental kind of strength to say it's okay. You can stick with it.
Mm,
Whereas the
mm,
mind is telling you just come out of the pose. You don't need it anymore.
mm,
But when you do stick with it and you feel that kind of melting, that
mm,
it's just that you the ease that comes into it.
mm.
And I think there's also I found any from my long time ago when I did one, it was a mental calm from it as well, which is fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always come away from a yin class feeling like my internal space has expanded.
Mhm.
Like I might go in feeling like quite tight and, a bit stressed and everything's
Yeah,
a bit, oh, and then when I come out of it, it's like, oh my God, I can actually breathe properly again. So
yeah.
in yoga, in yin yoga, and all yoga as well, like you
Mhm.
really use the breath to help you through it. And when you're holding a pose for so long, your mind, like you said, kicks in that this is a bit, you know,
Yeah.
you don't really need to be here anymore. Don't look at that. Look away, look away. Whereas
Mhm.
you're learning to stay with it. So you're learning to meet your discomfort, and befriend it and kind of, sit with it and go, okay, so what's underneath this? Why is this so uncomfortable for me? What's going on? So, and again, like that works on the emotions that we hold in the body as well. And the more we can sit with our discomfort,
Mhm.
it actually brings so much ease into our life in other areas.
Absolutely. Yeah. We used to have a running joke actually when I was doing my mindfulness teacher training about suffering, because a lot of the lessons that we did was all about how to sit with your suffering in a
Mm,
similar way. So we used to all say about the suffering. It's mindfulness. Yeah, just we're suffering today, aren't we? And to ease with it. But there was a beautiful phrase that my teacher Jane had. About, because sometimes you can feel it's a very icky thing. We don't want to
mm,
look at this, but how she described it was about we're coming to the edge, and rather than thinking of it as a sharp edge, we're just polishing around the edges each time and making it more gentle and more gentle, that we can sit with these emotions that, like, our mind is, it's only natural, it's trying to protect us, it's trying
mm,
to take us away from any hurt. But sometimes there is so much healing in just, as Jane says, polishing around the edges of
mm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. I love that. Like, definitely going to bring that in.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's but again, like it just comes back to like whether we're talking about mindfulness, whether we're talking about yoga, that it's there's so many crossovers between all these different
Mm,
modalities, that
mm,
it is all about just allowing us to release and let go.
mhm,
Just release and let go.
mm,
Um, and I know, like, obviously meditation is a massive part of yoga as well.
mm.
Would you have any kind of tips or backgrounds just on where there is a crossover between yoga and meditation, and where it's helped in the past? Maybe it might help, any help for the users or the listeners.
Mm. Okay, I can speak from my own experience there,
Yeah.
I suppose, a little bit. Like, I used to, my idea of what meditation was somebody sitting cross-legged in a room on the floor, or maybe a little cushion for hours on end, being still and quiet. And I can never do that. That was, I was like, no way, I can't do that. I can't do that at all. So I suppose I found my own way into it in different ways, and yoga is definitely one of them, particularly for me, the yin yoga, because you are still in it, and I suppose, meditation, yoga, it's not about conquering the mind. It's about getting to becoming friends with your own mind, really, and getting to know what feels right and what's where that edge in the discomfort is that you can stay, and you can stay a little bit longer maybe the next time, and like you said, polish around the edges. I know I'm not really answering your question, but I hope
No,
I'm
I
going to
love
get there.
it. Yeah. Well, I didn't have much structure to my question either, so it's like,
And I suppose in yin, we'd use that edge a lot as well. That when you go into the hold, that you're meeting your edge, and you're like the edge that you want is a 7. So
mm,
it's uncomfortable, it's discomfort, but it's not pain, it's not sharp.
yeah.
It's this dull edge that's not pointed, but it's like the size of the palm of your hand. Something that's uncomfortable, but you can stay with it. And that edge might be different on different days. Because some days we're more able and some days we're not. Whatever came the day before, the night before, what that morning, whatever it is, that our edge is closer or further away. And it's all about learning how to stay with that and in that. And that kind of reminds me of that window of tolerance and learning to stay with inside your window. Because sometimes we haven't even got a clue what size our window is. And through meditation and yoga and other practices, we really learn to get a really good feel for what our window is and when we're outside it and how we can get back inside it. And I know some people are probably thinking, what the hell is she on about now? The window.
I understand exactly what you're saying though, because there's so many people that they may be in one place in their life and they're looking at other people who are extremely grounded and everything is perfect on the outside and it all looks absolutely brilliant. And they don't know how to get from where they are right now to there. And they think it's just one big leap. But what we're kind of describing here is that it's not. It's like it's a slow, steady pace there, all constantly looking at, right, where am I on now? Is there discomfort? Can I polish around it? Can I go slightly further? And not expecting that changes in life come from one big leap. They come from many, many little tiny little steps.
Absolutely. And that's the thing I use with an awful lot of clients. Like, you have to make the steps achievable, bite size, small
Mhm.
things, leaps and bounds. Okay, sometimes they do work, but they're really hard to sustain. And it's the small pieces, it's the small little practices that we bring into our daily life that really make the difference. If that's just stopping to take a breath or setting your phone to remind you to take a breath, to check in, whatever it is, it's those little pieces. And even looking at something going, this is what I want to do, but that's too big. Okay, I'm going to have to break that up into smaller pieces so I can do it.
What's my
So
first little step?
yeah, exactly. Like I have a fear of heights,
Okay.
and it's been there forever. And it used to be so bad that it would stop me doing an awful lot of things that I wanted to do, but I
Mhm.
couldn't. And it was that, caught in that fear cycle of like, oh my God, I can't do that, I'm going to die. And over time, with, gently easing into it and meeting it, I've gotten better. Now it's still there. Not saying it's gone. It's definitely not, but it is still there. But I am, no, it's still there and I'm getting better with it.
Mhm.
So I'm able to to push into my edge in my fear with my fear of heights and meet it and go, okay, this is really uncomfortable. This is really scary. I was recently up in Donegal and I went to climb Mount Errigal.
Wow.
It was my second attempt. I didn't get there. However, I got an awful lot further than I did before.
Fantastic.
And that was like meeting the edge where I could go and then stopping, and calming myself and then going a little bit further. And I got a lot farther than I have. And even then I thought I would that day. But it was just meeting that fear, talking to it and letting it
Yeah.
know that I know you're there to mind me and protect me and you're there to look after me. So how can we do this together? Can we go a little bit? Can I go a little bit further?
And then for
Even
next
if
time, how that you were able to get to that distance next time, and it's
mm,
within you that you can definitely do it.
mm,
It's funny you're
mm,
bringing up fear of heights. Actually, it just remind me of recently. We went on a family trip over to the west of Ireland, and there was a family member was actually out in Achill, and I've never been to Achill at all, and my wife's always talking about it. So we went to the beach for most of the day, and then they were saying, "Oh, you have to come to see." is it Keene Beach, the last beach that you get to.
Mm,
And I said, "Oh yeah, grand, come on, we'll hop in the car and go to it." Didn't realize you go up the edge of a cliff, and I'm driving along. I said, "Amanda, I have to pull over. I'm going to actually get sick." I have never
mm,
felt the feeling in my life that
mm,
as we were growing up, it was like I lost all control of my senses, and
mm,
I had to literally just pull over and let her drive. It was,
mhm,
but I never realized that it was there before.
mm.
That it was such a
Okay.
fear. But like I said,
Mm.
it's I got that far to this day. We'll see where we get
Mm.
next. But we still got to the beach. It was absolutely amazing,
Excellent.
beautiful place. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Um, so I like that. But listen, we touched on actually something I have to ask because I always get to the end of an interview and I kind of forget to say the question. But there's a question that I ask every single person, and the reason I always ask my question every episode is because I love exactly what you described earlier on, that a lot of people have this image of meditation that it's somebody just sitting on their own for hours on end meditating. It's not part of their life. So I like to find out like what mindfulness means to each person in their life. So if I ask you, Dee, what does mindful living mean to you? What would it be to live a mindful life?
I feel like this is a really generic answer, so sorry about that.
Oh, we'll
But
go
for
deeper if you want.
me,
Don't
yeah,
worry.
like it is about, it seems so simple, but it's not. It's about being present with yourself and where you are, whatever you're doing at the time. Like, and I don't always manage it, but it's something that I try and come back to over and over again. And it seems, yeah, it seems a bit generic, but
But I think it's so interesting though you say that because a lot of people think like it's being present as this term. "Ah, I just want to be present," but I can see from the way you described it that being present means something very deep to you though as well.
mm, mm. Yeah, like it's a sense that you get, that I get inside myself
Mhm.
when I'm present with me, and it's the sense of being at home within myself.
Mhm.
That's what it is to me. And like you said, like one of my things is in my work, I want to help people come home to themselves, to come home to you. And for me, mindfulness is that it's coming home to me and feeling at home within me.
And I say it's also known when you're home
Yeah.
as well.
Mm,
Because I find like even it's like a simple question I often ask people is like what makes you happy? And there's
mm,
so many people that they don't know from day to day what
mm,
makes them happy because there's so much on the wheel of going from place to place to place and
mm.
just that autopilot that you spoke about, and it's about finding what makes you happy and what feels to be home and to be living in flow really.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. I was chatting with my one of my kids, my youngest, the other day about the seasons
Mhm.
and what's your favorite season. And you know, I I I was like, oh God, I actually don't know what my favorite season is because I love them all for different reasons and in different ways. And they all bring, like this time of year now, I know it feels like summer looking outside
Yeah.
today. It is autumn, and the autumn is that lead into the slowing down, and the going inwards and the nurturing of the self and what's around you. And for me, that's part of my mindful living as well. It's like
Mhm.
paying attention to the seasons outside me and inside me, my own personal seasons and where I am in my cycle, in my day, in what's going on in my life, and all of these different pieces. And again, I read another book recently, which I thought was which I absolutely loved, about wintering and what wintering is for different people and how we might go through it. And I was just like, oh my God, that's exactly that's like she just looked inside my brain and wrote the words down.
But it's such a great way to describe it because I had a guest on recently talking about she's an educator in the menstrual cycle as well, and she had an amazing
Mm,
description of the different seasons of a woman's cycle as well, and it
yeah.
is about that kind of the wintering as well, and it's there's so many different levels to it as well that
Mm,
it's such a great way. Like it's Like there's seasons in nature, but there is seasons within our lives as well.
Absolutely. And it's in everything. Like it's in the day, it's in our breath. It's in that breath when you're breathing in and you're breathing out. And it's in our relationships. Like we move through seasons in our relationships with ourselves, with the people around us. Sometimes you're in summer and everything's awesome and it's great and you're having the crack and it's like, this is brilliant. And then sometimes you're in winter and you're like, oh my God, I don't even want to look at your face. Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's really interesting. And I love that menstrual cycle is being brought now. We're becoming so much more aware of it and we're able to bring it to the younger generations who probably know a lot of it already, but about tuning into your own inner cycle and where you are in it. And that in turn can help you navigate what's going on in your life. Because when you're in the different seasons, like obviously when you're in summer, you have loads of energy and you're able for stuff. And when you're in your winter, you need to go slow. You need to maybe you need to go to bed, whatever it is, but you really need to mind yourself in that and where you spend your energy and
Mhm.
how you spend it. And I think it's great that there's so much more awareness around that.
You just hit the head nail on the head with a word I was literally going to bring up. That's right the way through mindfulness, and it's awareness. And it's about
Mm,
just bringing that awareness to where we are right now, and
mm-hmm,
and like I know it's a cliche as well about mindfulness, like but doing it without judgment. It's and just saying right, yeah, this is where I
mm,
am right now. Whether that's a season, whether I'm wintering, or whether I'm in the summer and everything is fantastic. It's like the famous phrase like this too shall pass, and
yes.
knowing that no matter where I am right now, there will be other seasons, and
Mm,
we will get to get through this. Um,
mm.
Listen, I've really enjoyed conversation, and there's a question actually I'd love to ask actually as well. Is there anything that I didn't bring up that you'd love to chat about yourself?
Oh, there you go. That's a question. You
Yeah,
could have
I
me
love it
here
because
all
it opens. I
day.
don't care. I've loads of time, and I'm sure the listeners are enjoying all this. But is there an area of your work or something that you'd like to chat about or to leave us on a note with?
I'm not really sure. There's one thing, if it's okay.
Of
Like
course,
as you said, dipping into. Uh, I'm not dipping into. I am a yoga teacher now as well, on top of the other things that I do, and I am opening up a space for classes in
brilliant.
Bective Mill
Mm.
in Meath, and yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there you go.
that's
Now I
coming
don't
up.
know. Like, there's so
Yeah,
many other things that I'd love to talk about around mindfulness and around
uh,
how we can bring it into everyday life and make it something that is not a chore to, that, oh my God, I have to do this. It's like, how can we integrate it in a way that suits the person
and
in their lifestyle?
it's also important that it's different to each person as well.
Mm,
That how somebody can practice and integrate into their life is not because there's a lot of times where we're looking at people practicing and doing things and they're saying, oh, geez, it's not great they're able to do that. But that mightn't work for you. But equally, what you can do in your life mightn't work for them either.
absolutely, absolutely. And helping people figure out that piece of how it is going to work for them, and that is it is about trial and error and making it playful. Like I think bringing that playful aspect is so important. It's like, I'm going to try this, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to have a bit of fun with it, and if it doesn't work,
Yep.
grand. And you may find that you try something and you take a piece of it that works and the rest of it doesn't, and that's okay. But it's bringing that playful light energy into it, that it doesn't have to be heavy and hard, because that's not sustainable. Like, if something is a chore, something is, oh my God, I have to do this, like
Yeah.
we're so much less likely to do it. But if we can do it in a way that's like, oh, I'm going to go, I get to go and do this now. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Whether it's sit alone for 5 minutes, or, when you're making the dinner, you're focusing on peeling the carrots and chopping each one. And what does it look like? What color is it? Is this orange the same as that orange? And, kind of being really with whatever it is you're doing.
Just tuning
I
into all
find,
those senses that we normally just numb and just don't just take for granted.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Listen, I've really enjoyed chatting to you. If people want to get in contact, you mentioned there's a course coming up. Where this is going to come out, I'd say about, I think I had a date on about the 15th or so of September.
Okay.
For anyone that's listening now, where can they contact you about your courses?
At the moment, the best place to get me is probably through Instagram. So I'm at Whole Body Wellness on Instagram.
Okay.
You can DM me through that. My details are there. The yoga course that I'm starting starts on the 14th, but it's come along. Uh, the details are up there. And I have a few spaces at the moment for psychotherapy on the Hill of Tara, which is a wonderful place to do it. And so many, just make sure you've got a good raincoat.
Yeah. You can't guarantee the weather, but you can guarantee the experience.
Can't guarantee. Yeah. And I came to that actually to mention Cara. She's the first hiking psychotherapist in Ireland. So that's how I came to that. I do some work
Ah,
with Cara for
I
Hike
was
Psych.
I was on a hike actually with Cara a few months back now it is in
Mm,
Glendalough.
mm,
And I met her briefly. There was a big group, so so I actually connected with her more afterwards than I did actually during it. But it's such a great idea. It really, really is.
yeah.
To get
Mm.
there. But listen, thank you so much. What I'll do is I'll get you to send me on all those details and in our show notes, there's a link above to our show notes and you'll get all of those connection details. And listen, Dee, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this conversation. And thanks so much for being on the Mindful Living Guide.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been a pleasure.
So there you have episode 49 of the Mindful Living Guide. I really enjoyed chatting to Dee, and like as you can tell from the conversation, there's so many different crossovers and from what I'm always talking about on this podcast and what Dee is teaching. It's I think it's so important that we try and integrate any type of whether it's a therapy or whether it's meditation or just into our lives, but not to try and take massive leaps. And I think that's where people often um, feel like they're not successful because they take a massive change and then after a while they slip back into the same old habits. And I think it's those, as we said, the baby steps, the little tiny actions we can take. So maybe from this episode, maybe one thing you could do is just ask yourself, what little step could I take today? What little step could I take today? So listen, thank you so much as always, and thank you for everyone who's reached out about the 28 day journal that I created. Unfortunately, I'm having some distribution issues, so it's not available on Amazon UK at the moment, and I'm looking into that. Hopefully, but like I always say, these things happen for a reason, and it all lands at exactly when it's meant to land. So I will update you as soon as I have more information on it. And listen, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening and sharing. If you have any friends that you think will enjoy these episodes, please send them on and let's introduce some mindfulness into their day. I'm Stephen Downey, and this has been the Mindful Living Guide.